this is Marilyn with MKR Creations. Welcome to my channel. Today I am doing a mini wedding album, and the basic supplies you will need is chipboard. You need 2 pieces that are 7 by 7 for the front and back cover, and those are in inches. The spine is 3.5 inches by 7 inches. You need 2 8.5 by 11 pieces of cardstock. You want to use the 65 pound. Then I have 4 pieces that are 6 1/4 by 6 3/4, and then you score on the 6 3/4 side at a 1/2 inch. This is going to be your pages. Then I have 8 pages that are 6 by 6, and these are the decorative paper that I'm going to use for this album. Then I have some extra bits and pieces here that I can use for fold outs or pockets depending how things go here, and we'll just take that part by ear. And the paper I am using is Stamperia wedding paper. It's a beautiful wedding collection, lots of great pictures and papers in this collection. I absolutely love it. If you love shabby chic and vintage, this is definitely the paper for you. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is begin by building our album. So in order to do that, I'm going to first take my 2 sheets of 65 pound 8.5 by 11 cardstock, and I will also have this supply list in the beginning of the video, so you can pause there and see what it is that you need. And I glue my paper together this way because I tend to have kind of a crooked eye, and if I don't do it this way, I end up with it being crooked and not sitting straight and just not working well for me. So this is the way I do it. Looking for my bone folder here. Okay. So we start out going to put the paper on one side here that we're going to adhere to the other side. The beginning of my paper or my tape. You want to get as close to the edge as you can without going over. So we don't want any stickiness hanging out and catching on anything else. And you want to burnish that down with your bone folder. Take this out like this, and then put it up to the straight edge. Bring this up to the straight edge, just over where that tape is, and lay it down. I'm going to burnish this down. A tiny little bit of adhesive hanging over here. That really isn't going to matter because that's going to go up on the album anyway and be covered by paper. So all right, now we want to get our boards ready here, and we want to cover these with the paper or the double-sided tape and stick them down on the paper here. So I'm going to go up and down all the way. I'm going to go all the way to the edge as close as you can. And do that with every piece. We want plenty of tape to hold everything good and stable so things don't come apart. Okay, and then you want to take your bone folder and burnish these all down so that it is well adhered to the cardstock or the chipboard. And do that with each piece. I hope you're all having good weather where you're at. Right now we're having very nice weather after having a couple of weeks there with 100 to 110 heat indexes. We're actually got a temperature down in the 80s with lower humidity than it had been, so things are looking pretty good here. Okay, after you have all those burnished and ready to go, you want to pull this over so you can work with it. And first things, I want to measure so that I get this good and straight. Like I said, I have a crooked eye. If you don't have that, then you probably are fine doing it how you want to do it. But I tell you, if I don't measure a line to follow, it will be a crooked mess. So, alrighty. So we're gonna take this off. You start with putting your spine down so it goes in the middle. And that way you know you're not going to run out of space. Plus the spine in the middle of the back, or the place where it crosses over in the middle of the back, is good to have it there so that it has less wear and tear. Okay, and lay it down. Then get the next one you're going to put down. We're going to put that on this side. Take all your tape off. You can do this with your fingernails if you're talented that way, but I find this, it's actually a Cricut weeder that I use. Other people have other pokey tools that they use to do this. This is the one I found and I really like it. It works really well for me. So then I have an album spacer I've made, and it's actually a little more than 2 widths of a chipboard, because you want plenty of room to bend your album so it doesn't break the paper. All right, now the other side. This up here so we get even with that, even with the bottom line, so everything is lined up good, and put that down. Okay, and now we're going to turn it over. If you have a brayer, that works really good to burnish this side of the paper down. If you do not, you can very gently take your bone folder and do it. You may want to put another piece of paper over top so that you don't scratch your album. Okay. Now we have a little too much over here, so I'm gonna take that off. I actually have a little too much on both sides, so we're gonna take that off on both sides. And we'll just draw a line with my pencil. All right. And I'll get my scissors here and we'll just cut that off. Okay, now we're going to put tape all the way around the edge on the paper here so that we can fold this down. Get as close to the edge as you can without going off. Do the top and then the bottom. Okay, and then again you want to take your bone folder and you want to get all this burnished down all the way around. You're putting your tape down, you can get air pockets, so it's another reason you want to burnish it down. You want to make sure it's well adhered so it doesn't come loose on you. Okay, and now we're going to clip the corners. You make sure you have at least 1/8 of an inch left there so that it will cover this corner of the cardstock and that won't be sticking out. It'll make your album look much more professional. Okay, and now you want to start just slowly kind of bending your paper. Paper has memory, so you want to kind of loosen those fibers a bit so that they will start bending and not cracking. That's why you don't want to use the 110 cardstock for your covers, because it will crack when you bend it too easily. I use the 110 for my pages because it's good and sturdy. It will hold up better to people looking at your album. So then come along, just kind of gently push your paper all the way up with your fingers, getting it ready to go. You want to do that on both sides. And on both ends. Okay, now start on the side that's closest to you. And you want to peel off this long strip. You want to do the long sides first. So we're going to just gently bring this up, start in the middle, and work your way out to the edge. Okay, and take your bone folder and just kind of gently go in that crease where this is going to fold in the end. Okay, and then turn to the other long side. Pull this up and off. Fold up in the middle and work out towards the edge. Okay, now for the edges. What you're going to do is take your bone folder or your finger and just gently push this point in towards the crease. Can you see that? How I just kind of put that in gently towards the crease? Okay, and then take this paper off and come up towards the middle and work out towards the edges. Okay, you can see how there's no cardboard showing, and that's what you want to do. Do the same thing with the other side. Gently push in the corner on both ends. And then take off your tape, bring it up at the center, and gently move out. And then you may have to press down here. Sometimes it can be feel a little sharp there. Okay, so then we want to kind of crease our creases there. So now we actually need 4 pieces of the white cardstock. I don't think one's going to be long enough. No, it's not. So we need 2 pieces of the white cardstock, and we're going to join these 2 like we did the first one. Okay, you want to get that as close to the edge as you can. Burnish this down again. I tell you, my workspace is a mess. I need so much more room. A friend of mine has the scrap box, and she told me she absolutely loves it and that I need to get one. Now, they're quite pricey. I went online and priced them, and they are quite pricey. Not really sure I can afford that at this point in time, but if you have a scrap box, would you please comment below and let me know what you think of your scrap box. Do you think it's an investment worthwhile? I do love to scrapbook, but I do have a lot of supplies. My husband doesn't like how they're everywhere, and he would probably like me to have less supplies, or at least more organized supplies, but he's not gonna pay for a scrap box, I'm sure. So, like I said, let me know what you think, if you have one, what you think of it. Okay, so I'm just hand measuring this by holding it up to my album because I need to fit this inside here. I'm going to cut the edges off first and then we'll cut the length. And again, this video is not endorsed by anybody. It's not meant to be an advertisement for anybody. It's just simple. I want to know. Though if Scrapbox wanted to send me a scrap box to review on my channel, I certainly would not say no. Like I said, my friend has one and absolutely loves it. She says that she told me it's an investment I needed to make, but I'm not sure my husband would feel the same way. So, okay, now I'm gonna, you want just a little bit of ridge around the edges, so I'm gonna get my pencil again and mark this one here of where I need to cut this. Probably should have cut the length before I taped them together. Yeah, this is not going to work the best. So I'm going to take my ruler here and draw the line. I'll have to cut it with my scissors. It's not my favorite way to cut things because scissors, sometimes you can get that choppy, and I don't like that. All right. So if you ever have anything that, you know, didn't turn out quite like you want, there are fixes for that, as you just saw. Alrighty, we'll set that aside. And now we need this back. We need to put our tape on here for the inside liner. So one thing, I really like to get a lot of tape here because I find that, and on the at the folds, because it can puff up there and that does not look good. That is one of my biggest problems with doing albums. So we want to make sure we get that all taken care of here. I like to put them two right next to each other because, I don't know, I think that just gives it extra hold. And I definitely need extra hold in this area. Nothing is more irritating than getting a whole album cover put together to find out that it's going to bubble when you go to fold it. So do not want that. Now we're going to go around the edges here. And then put 3 down the middle here. It does take a lot of double-sided tape to do this. My favorite double-sided tape is score tape. I've used cheaper tapes that have not worked near as well. I've had things fall apart because of it, so I do not have that problem with the score tape, so that's what I use and what I recommend. All double-sided tapes are not made the same. Okay, and then you want to go all the way around the edges of this piece that's going to be your inside piece of your album, and get really close to the edge, as close as you can, edge to edge, so that this holds way down and does not pull away. All right, so now you want to burnish all these edges down. All this tape, burnish it down, make sure it's good and adhered to your cardstock and ready to go on your album. Okay, set that aside and then burnish everything down here on your chipboard. Especially the ones by your hinge, because you really, really want that down. And as you're burnishing, you'll see you had little air holes where the little bit of air was under the tape. But when you burnish it down, it gets rid of all that. So we're going to do this half and half. I like to do half at a time because I have a tendency to not get things centered quite right. So if I do half, I can kind of relax, because the whole thing's not going to go, and that just is a little more helpful for me. So all right. So then we're going to take half this tape off. Start here. Take that all the way off. Then we're going to take this part way off. I'm just going to fold it back a little bit there. So we want to make sure everything is where we want it before we lay it down, because this tape is not the least bit forgiving. And I got it crooked. So I'm gonna really have to figure out a way to do this that I can keep things straight. If you have any ideas or any tips for me, that would be great. See if I can save this. Don't really like the looks of that. Let's see. Okay. Where's my folder? This should be covered by my hinges here, my page hinges. Should cover that, so we should be okay with that. Everything else looks okay. So now you want to gently start folding this up here, and this is why I wanted all that extra tape there, because otherwise you can end up with this coming up on ya and this coming up on ya, and it just does not work well. Alrighty, so that is part one. Of the mini wedding album. So come back and see part two, and happy crafting, everyone. Have a wonderful day.